My wife's startup failed, wiping out everything we had. So I started working 3 jobs, running myself into the ground just to ease her burden. I was hanging 30 stories up, wiping grime off a skyscraper's windows, when I saw the birthday party raging inside. I glanced in, envious, and then my blood ran cold. I saw my wife, Nicole, pushing a money cake, a tiered creation literally made of rolled-up $100 bills, toward an old woman seated in the center of the room. Through the thick glass, I could almost hear the muffled chatter. A spot here costs a fortune. Ms. Sterling actually booked the entire floor for her mother-in-law's birthday. Just the cash she was handing out at the door must have been hundreds of thousands. Suspended in the air, I froze. No one at that party knew that Ms. Sterling's real mother-in-law had died in a hospital bed just the day before. My own mom, lying in that same hospital, had clutched my hand. "Caleb, son, stop. Don't treat me anymore. I don't want to be another burden on you and Nicole." I'd frantically called Nicole, desperate to get her joint bank card to make a deposit for her treatment. But in the minute I turned my back, Mom had jumped from the hospital roof. She had folded her jacket neatly on the ledge. On top of it sat a small, tidy stack of cash. I picked it up, my hands trembling. It was a mix of bills, 20s, 10s, 5s, and 1s. $53 in total. I couldn't find Nicole. I handled Mom's arrangements in a blur and rushed straight to this window washing gig. $300 an hour. It used to be enough to feed our little family for days. So seeing Nicole in this glittering 5-star hotel felt like a glitch. Was the woman inside, throwing money around like it was nothing, really the same wife who'd shared a bowl of instant yesterday, wearing a faded, patched-up sweatshirt? A cold gust of wind snapped me back to reality, and I shivered. I mechanically pulled out my phone and tried Nicole again. Still no answer. The guy on the rig next to me saw my phone, gave a sharp gesture to the foreman above, and they hauled me up. The second my feet hit the rooftop, a hard hat flew at my head. "On your phone while you're working? You got a death wish? Get out of here. You're fired." The helmet grazed my forehead, leaving a stinging, bloody line. It hurt. This wasn't a dream. I stumbled toward the elevator, my mind a complete blank. On the ground floor, I ran right into a crowd of ecstatic hotel employees. "Ms. Sterling is handing out cash. Just say a nice birthday wish and you get some." The ballroom was a sea of opulence, dripping with expensive decorations and glittering trinkets. People buzzed around me, whispering that the decor alone had cost a small fortune. I pulled my face mask up tight and shuffled along with the crowd toward the center of the commotion. When it was my turn, I looked at Nicole, draped in a silk designer dress and dripping with jewels, standing next to the old woman. My throat went dry. "Wishing you a long and happy life. Happy 60th birthday." If my mom hadn't died, she would have turned 60 this year, too. Just a few days ago, I've been talking with Nicole about taking her out for a nice dinner for her birthday. Mom had just smiled and waved her hand, saying that paying off our debts was the best gift she could ask for. And now, we were a world apart. Nicole didn't recognize my muffled voice. She squinted, handing me a thick envelope. "Here you go. Take it." As I took the envelope, my hand wouldn't stop shaking. It felt heavy, stuffed with cash. This money, enough to save my mom's life, was being handed out by the hundreds like party favors. Someone in the crush of people jostled me, trying to get their own envelope, and I stumbled. In front of everyone, I fell to the polished floor, my filthy work clothes a stark contrast to the glamour around me. 100 pairs of eyes turned to me, a mix of pity and disgust. The shame was a bitter taste in my mouth. As I started to push myself up, a hand reached down to me. "You okay, man?" I looked up. It was the other guest of honor, the old woman's son. And by some cruel twist of fate, I knew him. It was Dylan, the good friend Nicole said had convinced her to invest in the venture that bankrupted us. The one who'd taken every last penny we had. Except now, it was clear the only ones left with nothing were my mom and me. A flash of malice sparked in Dylan's eyes, so fast I almost missed it. I flinched away from his hand, trying to get up on my own, but the next second, a foot shot out from the crowd, kicking my legs out from under me. I landed flat on my back like an upended turtle, instantly becoming the center of attention. Even Nicole looked over. As she started walking toward me, her heels clicking on the marble, I scrambled to my feet and fled. The one thing I couldn't bear was for her to see me like this, a pathetic, broken mess. Just as I stepped out of the building, my phone buzzed twice. A new contact request from an unknown number. I accepted. A video file immediately appeared. I pressed play. It was a video of Nicole and Dylan, wrapped in each other's arms, their bodies tangled together. A man's low voice, Dylan's voice, cut through the screen. How much longer are you going to keep playing this poor little girl game for that sap? That sap. He meant me. Nicole's light laugh echoed, her cold words stabbing me over and over. If you hadn't dared me, do you think I would have lasted this long? Her voice continued, devoid of any warmth. Besides, the old lady's sick. If he knew I had money, God knows how he'd try to guilt me into paying for it. I froze. She knew. Nicole knew my mom was sick. All those texts I'd sent, begging for money, she'd seen every single one, and she had simply chosen to ignore them. I stumbled back to our apartment, a cramped basement unit, and let out a bitter, self-mocking laugh. Should I admire her commitment? She had lived with me in a place like this for 3 years, all for a game. She was a brilliant actress. Even living under the same roof as my mom, she was always the smiling, caring daughter-in-law. She told us her parents were dead, that she hadn't felt the warmth of a family in years, and cherished what we had. After her startup failed, I sold our small condo to pay her debts. My mom even sold my grandmother's heirloom locket. I'll never forget the tears of gratitude streaming down Nicole's face when she took the money. She'd promised she was done with crazy schemes, that she just wanted to build a quiet life with me. Her tear-streaked face from that day was a universe away from the woman I saw tonight, beaming with joy. Staring at the 4 walls of our tiny room, I finally broke, my cries echoing in the suffocating space. Before I met Nicole, I was doing okay. I was the first in my family to go to college, and after I'd found my footing in Chicago, I brought my mom, my only family, to live with me. I met Nicole at a company party. She was a junior employee, being cornered by a lecherous executive. Dressed in a washed-out, generic uniform, she just stood there, too timid to fight back. I used the excuse of making a toast to pull the exec away, and she gave me a look of profound gratitude. Later, my mom came to my office to bring me lunch and saw Nicole in the break room, eating a dry sandwich and drinking tap water. From then on, my mom always made me pack an extra meal for her. Our relationship grew naturally from there. The wedding was simple, but Nicole swore it was the happiest day of her life. After we were married, she proposed starting her own business. Even when it failed and left us in debt, my mom and I were her biggest supporters. And it was all just a game for the rich. A game where I was the only one who played for real. My mom, who loved Nicole simply because I did, paid for it with her life. Before I could even wipe the tears from my face, the hospital called. Mr. Hall, your mother signed an organ donation agreement before her passing. We found a match. You should come say your final goodbye. Organ donation? When had my mom signed something like that? I rushed to the hospital, but as I reached the entrance, I saw them, Nicole and Dylan, stepping out of an ambulance. She was running, even in high heels, her voice sharp with anxiety. My mother-in-law is O-negative. She just collapsed. I've already put out an alert to every hospital in the city for O-neg blood. We have to do everything possible to save her. I stood frozen as she brushed right past me. If she had just looked up, she would have seen me, a ghost witnessing her entire charade. But she didn't. Even knowing my mother was dying, waiting for money that could have saved her, Nicole's entire world revolved around Dylan's mother. My feet felt like lead as I walked to the morgue. A doctor and a nurse were waiting for me. They showed me the donation form my mom had signed. The doctor patted my shoulder. Mr. Hall, your mother was a great woman. She did a wonderful thing. Her donation will save 3 families. I traced my mom's name, Brenda Hall, written in a shaky, labored script. She had practiced for weeks just to learn how to sign her own name on the papers for my college loans. Now she was gone forever. Her body was so broken from the fall that I couldn't bear to look at it a second time. I couldn't hold it in anymore. I collapsed, sobbing. The doctor's eyes grew moist. Not knowing how to comfort me, he just gripped my hand tightly, his own emotions unsteady. After a long while, I wiped my tears and looked at the medical staff. I'm sorry. Thank you for everything. Please, don't let me hold you up. I managed a weak smile. I know my mom would be happy, knowing she saved so many people. They all bowed their heads, a silent, profound gesture of respect for my mother. Just as they were preparing to transport the organs, a man in a suit ran up. Who is the family of the organ donor? He called out, his eyes landing on me. Sir, he said, striding toward me, I have some good news for you. He spoke with a condescending certainty, as if he expected me to fall at his feet in gratitude. Ms. Sterling's mother-in-law has a heart condition and needs a compatible heart on standby, as a precaution. Ms. Sterling is willing to pay $5 million for this one. Are you interested? To him, it was a no-brainer. Who would say no to that kind of money? He didn't expect me to shake my head. No, I said. It's already been matched with the person who needs it most. You couldn't offer me enough money to change that. I glanced at the waiting ambulance. My voice was flat, devoid of emotion. My mother is clearly not as important as Ms. Sterling's mother-in-law. Please, find another heart to buy. I couldn't believe it. Nicole would go this far for Dylan's mother, spending $5 million on a precautionary heart. A bitter laugh escaped me as I remembered how I'd practically been on my knees begging for a fraction of that. Nicole, oh Nicole, what else were you capable of? The assistant's face paled slightly. He pulled a thick wad of cash from his jacket and shoved it into my hands. Money is not an issue. Everyone in this city knows what Ms. Sterling is capable of. She's the most successful female entrepreneur in Chicago. I paused, letting his words hang in the air before adding my own. And a woman who played me for a fool. I shook my head again. Donating her organs was my mom's last wish. I had to see it through. As the standoff continued, the transport doctor ran out, his face grim. Mr. Hall, I'm so sorry. We just received a call from hospital administration. Your mother's donation has to be temporarily postponed. Before I could process what he said, something shoved me hard and I crashed to the ground. A moment later, cash rained down on me, hundreds of bills fluttering over my head. The assistant's voice dripped with scorn. Did you really think a nobody like you could stand up to Ms. Sterling's power? Mr. Dylan is the love of her life. She treats his mother like her own. He sneered. This money is more than enough to buy your mom's life, let alone one measly heart. I sat on the cold pavement, tears mixing with the smell of fresh money. Buy my mom's life? It wouldn't have taken this much. One of the envelopes Nicole was handing out at the party could have saved her. The assistant picked up the cooler containing my mom's heart and started to walk away. I lunged forward and grabbed his arm. That's my mom's heart. You can't take it. My mind was a white-hot blank. All I knew was I had to protect the last piece of her. The assistant kicked me, tried to wrench the cooler free. I held on, refusing to let go even as my head throbbed and blood trickled down my face. My mom's organs were not some commodity for Nicole to buy and sell. They were meant to save a life, not be a spare part for Dylan's mother. In the middle of our struggle, I heard the click-clack of heels. It was Nicole's voice. Mark, haven't you dealt with the donor's family yet? I froze for a second, then opened my mouth to call out to her. I wanted to ask her what it would take, what I had to do for her to just leave my mother in peace. Nick, before I could get her name out, the assistant shot a look at two security guards who grabbed me. You think you can go crying to Ms. Sterling? He hissed, landing another kick for good measure. Get him out of here. We don't need her seeing this mess. I struggled, screaming. I'm her husband. Ask her. Ask Nicole, whose name is on the marriage certificate next to hers. This is her mother-in-law's heart. Ask her how she has the nerve to steal it. The corridor went silent for a beat. Then the assistant, Mark, doubled over laughing. Everyone at Sterling Industries knows Ms. Sterling loves Mr. Dylan more than life itself. She gave him half her company stock without blinking an eye. He looked me up and down, taking in my wrecked appearance. You on the other? He scoffed. Even the security guards at our headquarters wear custom-tailored suits. How am I supposed to believe you're Ms. Sterling's husband? Don't make me laugh. He waved his hand, and the guards started dragging me away. Through the wall, my own tears streaming down my face, I could hear Nicole questioning her assistant, her voice sharp. Is it not enough money? Give him more. I don't care what it costs. I need that backup heart ready. Mark bowed his head, apologizing profusely. Ms. Sterling, there was a crazy person. He insisted he was your husband. And Mark hesitated, but under Nicole's piercing gaze, he forced the words out. He also said that this heart belonged to your mother-in-law. That's impossible, Mark said, relieved at the look of shock on Nicole's face. That's what I thought. The guy was a total mess, dressed in rags. He couldn't hold a candle to Mr. Dylan. How could he possibly be your husband? It's obvious you and Mr. Dylan are the perfect match. Nicole, who had been about to dismiss it, suddenly froze. She grabbed her assistant. What did you just say? Mark grinned obsequiously. I said you and Mr. Dylan are perfect for each other. Everyone at the company knows how devoted you are to him. And then it hit her. Nicole finally remembered what she had forgotten. She scrambled to pull out her phone, her eyes scanning the screen. She saw that after my last text begging for money, I hadn't sent another message. Nothing. This was wrong. Very wrong. Usually, if she didn't reply for a few hours, Caleb would call, frantic with worry. Ever since she'd told him a story about being followed by some thugs, he made a habit of waiting for her at the end of their street every night, terrified something might happen to her. Caleb never knew that the thugs were just actors she'd hired. Snapping back to the present, Nicole instinctively dialed my number. She wanted to ask how my mother was doing, how much money was needed. She'd figure out some excuse to wire it over. Dylan's mother still needed her, but as soon as she was stable, Nicole would go visit my mom. She consciously pushed the assistant's words out of her mind, hypnotizing herself. As long as Caleb answered the phone, it meant Mark was just talking nonsense. A ringtone started playing. Her eyes lit up, but no one was picking up on the other end. And yet, the sound felt so close. She followed the ringing, which led her around a corner into an adjacent hallway. There on the floor was my phone. Next to it was a small, dark pool of blood. The guards who had dragged me away stood there, their hands stained red, looking at each other guiltily. Sorry, Ms. Sterling, we lost him. The moment he heard your voice, he just took off. Nicole's hand trembled as she looked at the phone on the ground. The screen protector was shattered, but the old, matching phone case we'd gotten together was still there. It was the first gift she had ever given me. She snatched it up, her voice frantic as she confronted them. The owner of this phone, where is he? What did you do to him? The men shrank back, too scared to speak. Finally, Mark stepped forward. Ms. Sterling, the man wouldn't let go of the backup heart, and he was making wild claims about you. So I had a couple of the guys teach him a lesson. Nicole's gaze fell to the transport cooler in Mark's hands. On the label was the donor's name. She ripped it from his grasp and stared at the words, murmuring them aloud. Brenda Hall. My mother's name. It was like a lightning strike. Nicole's mind went completely blank. Just a few days ago, my mom had made her a bowl of simple soup, and she had found it so bland and tasteless she dumped it in the trash. For her, gourmet food was an everyday thing. Why should she subject herself to something so plain? A doctor happened to be walking by. Nicole grabbed his sleeve like a lifeline. The donor of his heart. How is she? Where is she now? I need to see her. The doctor gave her a strange, heavy look. The donor couldn't afford treatment. She took her own life by jumping from the roof. There wasn't even a whole body left. I wouldn't advise looking, miss. What? Nicole's vision went black. She grabbed the doctor again, her voice shaking. What did you say? The doctor paused. Are you a relative of the donor? Normally, we can't disclose this much information. I'm her daughter-in-law, Nicole blurted out. Brenda Hall was my mother-in-law. Before the doctor could say more, Dylan rushed out of the hospital room. He shot a quick, subtle glance at the assistant, then took Nicole's hand. Nikki, have you sorted things out with the donor's family? Mom's condition might be getting worse. Nicole gently pulled her hand away from Dylan's, her voice a complex mix of emotions. Dylan, we can't use this heart. Let me find a new donor for your mom. Okay. A flicker of annoyance crossed Dylan's face, quickly replaced by a mask of concern. Is there something wrong with it? You know how fragile Mom's health is. I told her not to make a big deal out of her birthday, but she insisted. Nikki, did she cause trouble for you? Nicole instinctively tried to soothe him. Dylan, it doesn't matter how much it costs. I will find a suitable heart for your mom. Please, just trust me. Dylan knew he couldn't push her any further. He nodded, putting his arm around her shoulders to guide her toward the hospital room. My mom woke up and has been asking to see you. Let's go say hello. For the first time, Nicole felt a powerful aversion to Dylan's touch. She couldn't let herself think about what she had done. Why was Caleb's phone here? Why did her mother-in-law jump? Did Caleb know she's poor? Being poor? The question swirled into a tight, suffocating knot in her mind. For the first time, she refused him. Dylan, I have something I need to take care of right now. You go be with your mom. I'll come see her after I'm done. Nicole rushed toward the exit, heading for home. She had never felt such an urgent, desperate need to see me. When she got to our apartment, her hand trembled as she tried to fit the key in the lock. It took several tries before she finally managed to open the door. The lights were on. Her own eyes lit up as she hurried inside. Caleb, are you home? Only her own voice echoed in the empty space. She paced frantically around the tiny basement room, which could be crossed in just a few steps before finally collapsing onto the floor in despair. Something was laid out on the small table. She picked it up. Divorce papers. This meant I had been here. I had just left. A sudden surge of energy shot through her. Nicole scrambled to her feet and ran outside, searching the blocks around our building, circling again and again. Her ankle twisted in her high heels, but she just grit her teeth and kept going. Caleb, where are you? For the first time in her life, Nicole abandoned her composure, screaming my name into the empty streets. She couldn't identify the feeling churning inside her, only that she had a single, overwhelming thought: find Caleb and explain everything. Just as she was sinking into hopelessness, the phone in her pocket rang. She pulled it out excitedly, only to realize it was my phone that was ringing. She answered. It was the doctor. Mr. Hall, I'm very sorry to inform you, but due to improper storage, your mother's heart is no longer viable. Nicole said nothing. The doctor, assuming I was grieving on the other end, tried to console her. I know your wish was to see your mother's final donation through. This is a tragic outcome none of us wanted to see. Please accept my condolences. Her other organs have already saved 2 families. I'm sure your mother would be proud. And besides, he added gently, the thing she wanted most was to see you and your wife happy. I hope you can find a way to move forward. Nicole just stared at the call log on the phone, speechless. She felt like scum. It was something she could have fixed with a simple phone call, a swipe of a card, but she hadn't cared enough to even think about it. The woman who had packed lunches for her, who had sold her most precious heirloom to pay off her fake debts, was gone from this world. Nicole first called her assistant, ordering him to investigate exactly what happened to the heart. Then, as if remembering something, she rushed to the last place I told her I was working. She remembered me saying I'd found a high-paying hourly gig. As the sun began to rise, a single phone call connected her to my former boss. Caleb Hall? Yeah, he collected his pay yesterday and left. The boss was still fuming. I put him on a window washing job at the Pinnacle Tower. And what does he do? He daydreams on the job. If he'd made one wrong move, he could have been killed. Nicole felt as if a giant hand had closed around her heart, squeezing so tight she couldn't breathe. The Pinnacle Tower, that was where she had thrown the birthday party for Dylan's mother. He knew. Caleb knew everything. Nicole didn't remember hanging up the phone. She just stood there on the sidewalk as the sun climbed higher, its warmth doing nothing to chase away the bone-deep chill that had settled inside her. She thought of the extravagant party, the cash thrown around like confetti. The ever-composed Nicole Sterling, in full view of the morning commuters, slapped herself hard across the face, twice. But even if I'd seen it, I wouldn't have felt a shred of pity. When I woke up, I had no idea how I'd ended up in a hospital bed. Ugh, my entire body ached. It felt like I couldn't even open my mouth. The memories flooded back. I threw off the covers, trying to scramble out of bed. My mom was still at the hospital waiting for me. But the moment my feet hit the floor, my legs gave out and I collapsed. The noise brought someone running. The door opened and a doctor in a white coat rushed in, helping me back on a bed. Easy now. You're a patient. You need to rest. You? I stared at her for a moment before I recognized her. I had met this doctor before. That day, I had no money when I was desperately texting Nicole for cash. This woman had been passing by and lent me the money for the hospital's registration fee. Dr. Hayes. Thank you, I said, looking at the name on her badge. The money I owe you. I promise I'll pay you back. She just smiled, not saying a word as she tucked the blanket around me. I've already dressed your wounds, and I heard about your mother. I'm so sorry for your loss. I forced a smile and shook my head to show I was okay. The moment Dr. Sarah Hayes left to get fresh bandages, I ripped the 4 from my arm and ran. I hadn't protected my mom's heart. I had to get it back. But when I found the doctor from yesterday, his face was full of regret. I'm so sorry, son. In a daze, I walked to the VIP floor, to the room belonging to Dylan's mother. And through the door, I heard a secret that shattered what was left of my world. Mom, you need to put on more of that white powder. Otherwise, Nicole won't believe it. Peeking through the crack in the door, I saw Dylan's mother dab onto her face. Her healthy, rosy complexion instantly turned a ghastly white. She shot Dylan a playful, scolding look. Only you would cook up a scheme like this, Dylan. If you hadn't said you were afraid Nicole was falling for that poor fool, I never would have agreed to this show. Saying I have a heart condition. Are you trying to jinx me? So it was all an act. All of it. Just to humiliate me in front of Nicole. I stood in the hallway, laughing and crying at the same time. Suddenly, my life felt meaningless. Because I loved Nicole, my mom and I treated her like family. And it was exactly that love that had cost my mom her life. Just as I was about to shove the door open and confront them, I heard Nicole's voice behind me, filled with surprise and relief. Caleb? Is it you, Caleb? I didn't turn. Instead, I threw the door open and stormed in. Dylan, you son of a bitch. I grabbed him by the collar and swung my fist in his face. My mom's heart. That was your doing, wasn't it? It was her last wish, and you had to destroy that too. Dylan didn't fight back. He just let himself fall to the floor, wailing. Nikki, help me, Nikki. I ignored him, my vision turning red as I rained punches down on his face. Stop it. Stop. Don't you touch my son. Dylan's mother, who a moment ago looked pale and dying, leaped from the bed and started clawing at me, as nimble as an athlete. I didn't care. I shoved her aside, my rage consuming me. Caleb, stop. Please stop. Nicole finally snapped out of her shock. She rushed over, trying to get between us, stumbling and falling to the floor in her haste, but still begging me to stop. I finally paused, breathing heavily, and stared down at Dylan. You owe my mother for this. Then I turned and looked at Nicole. I sneered. You must be very proud of yourself, Ms. Sterling, playing my mom and me for fools. I truly regret ever letting a monster like you eat the food my mother made. Nicole covered her mouth, shaking her head. She wanted to explain, but she didn't know where to start. Caleb, please, just let me explain, she pleaded, reaching for me. I shoved her hand away. Get away from me. I glared at Dylan, still cowering on the floor. Was his mom faking sick your idea too, Ms. Sterling? What did my mom and I ever do to you? Why would you do this to us? Honestly, I didn't care what her answer was anymore. My mother was everything to me, more than my own life. If Dylan didn't give me a real answer today, I would make him pay, even if it cost me everything. Sensing my desperation, Dylan scrambled backward, hiding in a corner. He was afraid my grief had pushed me over the edge, but he still couldn't resist one last taunt. Caleb, a broke loser like you will never understand what power tastes like. Look, he sneered. All I have to do is snap my fingers, and Nicole will hand me the world on a silver platter. That's something you and your short-lived mother could never comprehend. Smack! The sound of the slap echoed through the room. Dylan stared in disbelief at the person who had hit him. Nicole, you hit me? For him. Nicole stood in front of me, a shield between us, her face an emotionless mask as she looked at Dylan. Dylan, you do not talk about Caleb's mother. She was a woman I respected. Don't you ever let me hear you speak ill of her again. The air crackled with tension. It was Dylan's mother who broke the silence. She pointed a trembling finger at Nicole. Nicole, do you know what you're doing? Have you really fallen in love with this penniless loser? I saw Nicole's shoulders tense for a second. Then she spoke, her voice firm with confession. Yes, I've fallen in love with Caleb. Though her back was to me, her words were filled with a raw sincerity. The simple soup his mom made for me. It was the best thing I've ever eaten. It meant more to me than all the gourmet food in the world. That tiny basement apartment was the only safe harbor I wanted to return to after a battle in the boardroom. I thought this was all a game, but the truth is, I fell in love with Caleb a long time ago. I just didn't know it myself. For the rest of my life, I will work to atone for what I've done. Hearing Nicole's confession, my heart felt surprisingly calm. There was a time when those were the only words I wanted to hear. Nicole always said she was too shy, that she could never say I love you out loud. Even at our wedding, she had just blushed when our friends teased her. I always thought that if she just saw how much I cared, one day she would say it. I never imagined it would come like this, at a time when it meant absolutely nothing. I emotionlessly walked around her and looked down at Dylan, my voice a low threat. Dylan, what goes around comes around. I'm calling the police. Let them get justice for my mother. Dylan's face contorted into a grin. You're going to call the cops? What proof do you have? He was right. I had no proof that Dylan had orchestrated everything. And with Nicole backing him, what could I do? A wave of helplessness washed over me. Were people like me, without power or money, truly helpless? Could I not even get justice for my own mother? Unexpectedly, Nicole spoke. She handed me a file folder, her voice steady. Caleb, this is everything I found out about what happened. I don't know if it will help. This whole thing is my fault. I didn't control Dylan. If you want to blame someone, blame me. I took the file from her, my face a cold mask, and turned and walked away. Did she really think this would make me forgive her? Maybe in the next life. Just outside the room, I saw Dr. Hayes running toward me. Before I could explain, I flinched, startled by the sheer force of her presence. Caleb Hall, didn't I tell you to stay in bed? She scolded. Your wounds have opened up again. I gave her a sheepish smile and let her lead me obediently back to my room. I could feel a burning gaze on my back, but I didn't turn around. By the time I was allowed out of bed again, the police had already taken Dylan away. I knew it was Nicole's doing. Who else had that kind of power? Even now, it felt surreal. The woman I had shared my bed with was the infamous Nicole Sterling, a titan of industry. I let out a bitter laugh and walked out of the hospital, cradling my mother's ashes. I needed to find a beautiful, peaceful place for her. Nicole was waiting at the entrance. When she saw me, she rushed over. Caleb, I bought a plot for Mom. I didn't refuse. After all, she held all my money. Then I remembered something. I looked at her, speaking for the first time by choice. Transfer me $200. Her eyes lit up. She excitedly pulled out her phone and sent the money. I looked down at the notification. She hadn't sent 200. She'd sent 2 million. So much for being subtle. I didn't say a word. I just opened my banking app and quietly transferred $200 to Dr. Sarah Hayes. It was the money she had lent me for the registration fee. As soon as she accepted it, a weight lifted off my shoulders. Nicole handled everything for the burial, personally instructing the staff to find the plot with the best view. She gave me a hesitant, shy smile. I hope Mom can have some peace now. My lips twitched. What peace was there for the dead? Staring at my mom's smiling face in the photograph on the urn, I remembered the day I brought her to the city from our small town. She had looked around like a curious child, wide-eyed at everything. I had sworn to give her the best life, but because I loved the wrong person, I had brought her nothing but disaster. If it weren't for me, she never would have hesitated to spend money on her own health. Nicole slowly knelt beside me. I bowed my head 3 times, the finality of it heavy in my heart. Mom, I prayed silently, in your next life, please be born as my daughter. I'll give you the whole world. When the memorial was over, I looked at Nicole, who was still lost in thought. Let's go. Caleb, she said, her voice filled with desperate hope as she followed me. Does this mean you're willing to forgive me? When I told the driver our destination, her face went pale. You want to divorce me? What's the alternative? Go home with you. I looked at her with a half smile, a cold amusement twisting inside me. What was she even thinking? What lay between us wasn't just love and hate. It was a life that had been needlessly snuffed out. Nicole, I don't know why you played this game, but I'm a person. I have flesh and blood. Why on earth would you think I could ever forgive you? Because you're the great Nicole Sterling. She shook her head, her eyes filling with tears. Caleb, please at least give me a chance to make it up to you. I didn't answer. I just told the driver to go faster. Every second I spent in the same space as her felt like torture. At the city clerk's office, despite her obvious reluctance, Nicole signed the papers. We were divorced. I couldn't get out of there fast enough. In the taxi on the way back, I got a notification on my phone. A wire transfer from her. I counted the zeros. A full $20 million. Her text followed. Caleb, this is all the liquid capital I have right now. When I sell my company shares, I'll transfer you the rest. Don't refuse it. This is what you're owed. I thought about the debts I'd worked to pay off for her, the condo I'd sold. She was right. This was what I was owed. A few days later, a package arrived on a bright afternoon. I opened it. Inside was my mother's heirloom locket, the one she had sold for Nicole. Tucked inside the box was a small note in Nicole's handwriting. I bought back the family heirloom Mom sold. Caleb, please forgive me. I didn't reply. I just held the cool metal of the locket against my chest, and for the first time in a long time, had a good dream. In the dream, I saw my mom. She held my hand and gently placed it in someone else's. You have to keep going, Caleb, she said, her voice warm. More than anything, I just want to see you happy. I woke up with a profound sense of loss. If only it were real. Beep, beep, beep. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Sarah Hayes. Caleb, time for your checkup. Or do I have to come drag you out of your house? Her words were a threat, but underneath, I could feel the warmth of her concern. I smiled, a real smile, and typed back a single word. Okay, it was time to look forward.